Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Scientist Reverse Grid League here in the Einstein League tonight for rounds number 2 and number 3, back to the normal format we have with 2 races per night. Tonight we are in Monza first, and after that we are in beautiful France at Paul Ricard. As you can already see, the weather is absolutely beautiful here in Italy. The sun is shining, the sky is blue, always nice for Monza. There are a few tracks on the calendar where you really don't need the rain. These are just tracks you have to enjoy in the dry, and Monza definitely is one of them. And our drivers will experience that tonight. We have almost a full grid, 17 drivers in tonight. So it should be a spicy one, especially coming up to the first chicane after the start. Right now we're waiting for everyone to get their strategies going and their setups done, so they're all well prepared for the race. We'll also see the starting grid, which is the end result of last race result, which was the first race of the season after an 18-minute qualifying. We had a beautiful race at Bahrain, and race number 2, as already said, here in beautiful Monza. 17 drivers in, Tiny in the Haas starting from P1, followed by Moshe, Eskimo, Wisburn, Ryan Van Doom, G-Mag, Walterby, Septek, both in the Alfa Romeo, Boltex in the Alpine in P9, followed by both Merckx and Sebastian Casto, Ticunia P12, Rob starting from P13, behind him in P14 Yor, followed by both Aston Martins, Paul and Lando, like G-Mag, both reserving tonight, and finishing it up with Mumram in P17. We'll also take a look at the full track map, of course, so you can follow your favorite driver around the track. We have a look at the telemetry so we can see how much ERS is per example. That was a mix of French and French and English. For example, you can see the ERS usage here. And of course, we will have a look at position changes, the pit stops, the tyre choice, and the penalties. Speaking of tyre choices, we only have a few medium runners tonight. We have Ryan Van Doom in P5 and Walterby in P7 on the alternate strategy, which is quite surprising to see only 2 guys in the top 10 decide to go on mediums first. Then we have Rob in P13 and both Aston Martins in the back starting on mediums. The safety car is activated for this league, so let's see if a safety car is coming out, when is it coming out, and what will the guys do to make it work for them. They're now forming up the grid for the start. So our championship leader and winner of our last race, Raisin, is not here tonight. He is out due to not feeling very good, so wish him all the best to come back next week to feel well again, like he felt last week when he won that race in Bahrain. But tonight we focus on all the other 17 drivers who are in and who try to gain a little bit on Raisin while he's not here. These are chances you have to use them. You have to take advantage of them. It's not really the smoothest way, of course, if someone's missing, but it is what it is. That's racing. And we go for the start. 5 red lights out right now, and we go. Tiny with a good start, but Moshe is coming. Change side by side to turn 1. Oh, Moshe pushing very hard, and not leaving any space on the inside for Tiny. Then virtual safety car already out. That is down to Mumram, I think, who's just standing there, now moving. So, weird start here. Wisburn is 2.5 seconds behind. He completely lost his wing. But the virtual safety car was scrolling a little bit through to see if more cars have damage. But it seems like that Wisburn is the only one with that kind of heavy damage. Yours a ghosted car for the moment. Oh, there's a Ferrari, Ryan Badoom. He has a lot of damage. Yours a ghosted car because he left the session a few moments ago. He'll probably come back. It's still virtual safety car. Let's see if Lando has a fresh car. It's green flags again. No damage for Lando. As we all keep moving now. So Mumram will retire from the session. He's out. That could cause another safety car, maybe. Ooh, as Boltex is spinning and just saving the car. Not going into the wall, just saving it, losing a lot of time. Casto pitting very, very early. Together with Ryan Van Doom and Wisburn getting a new wing and getting a 5-second penalty for speeding into the pit lane. That's how you take advantage of Raisin not racing tonight. Obviously that was sarcasm. GMAC is now up to P1 because we've been at the... Okay. Because we've been at the back watching a little bit what all the guys in the pits are doing. While GMAC just decides to run a little bit wide here in Monza. You can do that, boy, but it's not so good. So GMAC in P1, Moshe P2, will also be already up to P3, and he's on mediums. He's the first guy on mediums. He started in P7. Ryan Vadoon was the other one who started in P5, but he has big wing damage. That means he's out of contention for the moment, and Walt to be up there. Sebastian, the other Merc, worked his way up to P4. Let's take a look at the position changes. GMAC gained 5. Walter B4, Sebastian 6, Septek 3, Rob gained 7 positions, Lando gained 8. Eskimo the only one out of that group who lost 4. As GMAC sets the fastest lap of the race for the moment. After 2 laps here at Monza. And having a virtual safety car on the first lap. Walter B is stalking Moshe now. Still high on ERS. 30% more than Moshe, and Sebastian is out of Walter B's DRS, which will give him confidence to take his time against Moshe, to do it in a clean way, in a smooth way. He has the advantage of being on the alternate strategy and getting onto the softs, and the second stint being the quicker car there, just based on the tires, of course. And now he has to make sure. Oh, Lando is out of the race. He had it coming together with Eskimo, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see where they came together. We have a virtual safety car. Is Lando's car here anywhere? I can't see it. Where is Lando? Yeah, now Lando's car is gone. I think he had a little scuffle with Eskimo, which ended in a DNF for Lando. So it is what it is. Virtual safety car, of course. And at the top, no one's coming in for pit stop. That could have been a moment for Walterby to pit for softs, just to fuck them all up, to play with their minds. But hey, he decided not to. D'Cunha and Paul, they decide to pit now, and they both started on soft. No, they didn't. D'Cunha started on softs, and Paul started on mediums. And Paul is doing the thing I just said. He's going onto the softs. Drive through for Rob, speeding under VSC. It seems like that all the regular drivers who normally can go for wins and close the gap to Raisin are just afraid of getting a good result. They're getting penalties all over. They just don't want to finish up high. So Robin P6 with the drive-through, which is horrible to say the least. G-Mac running wide again. And Moshe is only half a second behind him. Walterby, same. But now Walterby has the disadvantage of being the third car in the DRS train. Which basically means you can't overtake because the car in front of you also has the DRS. And only the first car hasn't, so... Oh, and Eskimo just overtook Rob, who is doing the drive-through now. That means Eskimo up to P6, Sebdek in P5, Sebastian P4, staying with Walterby now for the moment in P3 still. Yeah, okay, so G-Mac just decided to crack his car a little bit up in the wall. So, and running wide again because of the wing damage he has now. That's what I just said, like all the guys who are in the top positions, they just don't like being there. They like to be in the pits to get fresh new wings and get drive-throughs and penalties for speeding in the pit lane. It's quite horrible, quite horrible. You crash almost in a straight line to throw away a possible win here at Monza. And Walterby now has the big chance to overtake Moshe with the help of DRS and to get into P1 on his mediums and make them work. And Moshe is coming in. Moshe is coming into the pit. Sebastian staying out, but Walterby should have the DRS of Septek also getting a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. So Moshe, Septek and G-Mac of course in the pits because he has massive damage to his car. And Walterby's priority number one should be to push hard now to keep Sebastian out of his DRS. And for the moment it looks good. He needs a few more hundreds to get that done. Run around the second chicane. Taking a little bit of the grass with him, because that's how we do it here in Monza. And because he was so cautious at Lasma 1, he just lost 2 tenths on Sebastian. He's in his DRS, so tactical masterclass. Walterby still in P1 of course, Sebastian half a second behind him. And they're both, no they're not both. Walterby's coming in, Sebastian was faking it. I don't know who he was faking it for, because Walterby was already into the pits, but he stays out. He's still on softs and Walterby is coming onto the soft. So Walterby is doing kind of an undercut in advance. He was in P1 and normally Seb would undercut him, but Walterby is making sure that he stays in P1 by pitting 1 lap earlier than Sebastian and being on the better tires. Because he started on mediums, he's now on soft, so he wants to make sure he stays where he stays in the position that he left behind when he went into the pits. Eskimo is now in P2, Robin, you're in the pits. And we jump with Sebastian. Oh, yellow flag, sector 1. It's a Haas, I think. Could be tiny. If we get a safety car, it would be huge. But they have green flags, so no safety car. And Sebastian is coming around the last corner. Old Parabolica. Shoot me what that new name is. I still call it Parabolica. I'm too old for this. And Seb is now in the pits. Eskimo coming up to Parabolica, pushing hard, so he's probably pitting 2 now. Sector 2 yellow flags. It's tiny again. but he's still moving. And Eskimo coming into the pits. Tiny has now left the session. Okay. And Walterby coming across the start-finish line to claim P1, and it is pretty tight between him and Sebastian. So the undercut he did was crucial to stay ahead of Sebastian. But now he has the big advantage of having the soft tires on and Sebastian the mediums. The gap is now 1.4 seconds, so Sebastian is out of Walter's DRS, which is the best case scenario for Walter. Moshe back in P3, and Acuna worked his way up to P4 now. Casto also with a good recovery drive to P6, but of course he still has that 5-second penalty, which makes it safe for him from GMAC, but the goal is not to finish P6 for him when Raisin is not racing. He's one of the championship contenders, and he should aim for at least a podium in every race after DNFing, I think, 6 times last season, which is at least 4 times too much. So he needs to get more consistency into his racing to be a real contender at the end of the day. As Walterby is setting the fastest lap of the race, being in Q1, making sure that all the possible points will go to his name at the end of the day. We are on lap 9 of 13 now, and let's see if we have anyone still out on track who hasn't stopped yet. Nope, everyone has been into the pits. Ryan Van Doom, Wisben and Tiny have been to the pits twice. Let's see if they're still in the race. So Ryan Van Doom is still here. He's disconnected for a while now. Tiny's also not here. So the rule in this league is, well, first of all, I think Walterby gets the DRS from the left car here. So we have a rule in this league that if you leave the lobby, if you leave the session, and you're not coming back, that your result will not be classified, because you have to finish that race. You can't just leave and let your AI finish and have a chilly night, and that's pretty much it. It's not going to work like that. That's the same thing Septek is telling himself, and Castle is not going to work like that. Because Castle was about to overtake Septek, but he was fighting it. And now he's still in P5 and Castle in P6 as GMAC gets also a 3-second time penalty, and Walter is setting another fastest lap. And Castle is fighting pretty hard now to overtake Septek, but he's too far away. He's too far away to make it work. Oh, Septek going deep into the chicane. It seems like Castle's not close enough to go for the overtake. He has to be careful because there's a ghosted car which is in the way, which is also critical if you just leave your car. Oi, 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 that was a big moment for Septek, who almost lost his car big time there, but somehow he managed to catch it, which means he only loses the position to Casto. He could have lost his car in the race there, but he's still in here. So P5 for Casto, with the gap of 2.8 to Acuna, and with the 5-second penalty, I think, to his name. Yellow flag sector 2. What has happened here? It is Paul, I think, who had a moment. Oh, it's a biggie. It's between Lesmo 1 and Lesmo 2. He hit the wall there. Still yellow flags. Green's in now, and I think he has a lot of damage to his car. Yeah, the wing is completely gone. He will be coming into the pits. Bad timing. Well, there's no good timing for a crash, to be honest, but yeah, it's 2-3 laps before the end of the race. You're scratching at the top 10, and then you just pin that car in the wall. It's really unnecessary, really unfortunate, as Walterby is still in P1, 4.5 seconds ahead of Sebastian in the Mercedes. who is what Castor wants to be, consistent. Sebastian, since joining last season, has been a multiple time scorer, and I think also a few times has been on the podium. He's really good at having patient races and scoring and collecting good and enough points for his team. That's why they clinched the Constructors title last season. With the help of Sebastian, Alpine scored enough points to get that title, and now he's showing the same performances. He's now in P2 here in Monza, and he's showing a beautiful performance, to be honest. He's 5 seconds behind Walter. He was the only guy who was fighting Walter for that race win, and his gap to Moshe is more than 6 seconds. Pretty impressive what he's showing here, as Moshe is closing in on D'Cunha. Only half a second behind him on lap 12 of 13, and Castor's now closing the gap. But of course Castor has a 5-second time penalty, so even if he overtakes Moshe and D'Cunha, he won't get the 5 seconds between himself and those other two cars. So for him it's just damage limitation, bring that car home in P5 and work for it again at France in the next race. Eskimo, after his pit stop, back in P8, and if he can still push it a little bit, he needs 1 second, then he can overtake GMAC down to penalties here. Well, that means he has to push a little bit more now. We're jumping on board with Castor now, who's really close behind Moshe, who's completely down on the DRS, but he will be in the DRS of D'Cunha. So let's see what happens here out of Parabolic. And Castor with a good run, almost running into the rear of Moshe. He will have the DRS and ERS like Moshe. He will also have the DRS, but the ERS advantage is with Castor, who's staying on the inside, switching back to Moshe. He's backing off, playing a fair and clean game, nice to see. And now Castor has D'Cunha ahead of him. But of course that 5-second penalty will hurt Castor a lot. If I'm not mistaken, D'Cunha got a pretty good result in the first race in Bahrain. Well, let's recheck that quickly. Yeah, so quickly is not the correct word to use here. Yeah, so we're not making it quick, and we're jumping back on to Walter B, who finishes race number 1 tonight here in Monza in P1. Septek just DNF'd. We're in Y out of Parabolica. He was about to pop in a good result for his team Alfa Romeo after Walter B has won that race. And Septek is nailing his car into the wall and DNFs from that race. So Walter, huge win for him and Alfa Romeo. Sebastian P2, big points for himself and Mercedes. D'Cunha P3 with an impressive race, because if I'm not mistaken, he made a good point here. Yeah, he gained 9 positions for P3. Moshe finishes in P4. Castor P5, be down to the penalty, of course. GMAC P6. Eskimo P7, because Septek DNF'd. Rob P8, Boltex in P9, Jorn P10 made his return after the long injury he had and massive wheel issues. So P10 is a very nice welcoming. Oh, P11, it's P11 down to penalties, I think. Yeah, but still, P11 is a really solid result to come back to find a groove again and to get into the rhythm. And Paul almost sent it into the wall and deep fried his car again, so he will finish probably in P12. Wisbin over the line in P14 with the ghosted car, Tiny too, so they won't be classified in the end. Paul will be the last car on track to finish in P12. Congratulations to Walter B and his first win of the season here in Monza in an Italian car in Italy. Normally you'd like to see Ferrari up here in Monza, but I think the Italian fans are also glad with Walter B in the Alfa Romeo for winning that race. Sebastian in P2, the great result, and P3 in the Alpine goes to Di Cunha. Here we have our final results. Paul just clinched the fastest lap away from Walter B. So the podium, Walter B, Sebastian Di Cunha, P4 Moshe, followed by Casto, GMAC, Eskimo in P7, Rob, Boltex, Ryan Van Doom in P10, Yo in P11, Paul in P12, and then we have our DNFs in Sebdeg, Lando and Mumram. Wisbin and Tiny finished that race with ghosted cars, which basically means they didn't finish. So they will also start at the back. We'll do a quick screenshot of our results here of the race, if the fucking game lets me. And then we move on to a little break of around 10 minutes. And after that, we will be back with race number 2 at Paul Ricard in France. The stream will stay online. We won't do a new one. This stream will stay, so you can easily stay on the stream. Don't switch to anywhere else. So stay on it. We are back in around 10 minutes. Welcome back everyone to our second race of the night here in Paul Ricard in south of France. After our first race of the night in Monza, we now show up here with a completely different grid. Two boys are gone after the first race at Monza, probably due to connection issues. We had a winner in Walterby, who made the alternate strategy work for him at Monza. Sebastian in the Mercedes finished in P2, and Cunha in the Alpine with a glorious run made up 9 positions up to P3. We also had a few DNFs, which means those guys will start at the back for this race here in France. The sun is out again, the sky is blue again, it's dry. So perfect conditions for all the guys on track who are fighting for another win and good points here at a very difficult and tricky track, because those curbs, they invite you to use them. But if you use them incorrectly, they throw and spit you out, and you get punished by spinning or by even hitting the wall or another car, which can be quite horrible, especially in a league race. So focus and concentration has to be very, very high to get a good France in our second race of the night. We're jumping onto the grid for the start of the formation lap. And as you can see, from P1 next to him in the AlphaTauri in P2 is Yor, followed by Ryan Van Doom, Boltex, Rob in P5, Eskimo P6, and then G-Mac, Casto, Moshe, Cunha in P10, Sebastian P11, followed by both Alfa Romeos in Walter, a winner of Monza, and Septek, our last DNF on the last lap at the end of Ascari. He was about to score biggies. I think he was in P6 or something like that, 5 or 6. So he was about to score really, really good points for Alfa Romeo. Yeah, long story short, he binned it, no points for him, less points for Alfa Romeo, P13 for him here. Lando, who also DNF'd, starts in P14, and Mumram will go from the back in his McLaren. Again, we will have the full track map on and the telemetry, so you can watch your favorite driver on the track map and have a look at the ERS levels. We'll also take a look at position changes, the pit stops, the tire choice, and the penalties. And it's very interesting to see the tire choices here, because P1 to P5, they all decided to start on the mediums. Eskimo, the first one on softs in P6, G-Mac and Castor also on softs, and then again 3 cars on mediums down to P11. The Mercs are splitting up the strategy, as are the Red Bulls and the AlphaTauris. And then we have Walter in P12 on softs, who's just trying something different. His teammate is going with the mediums, Lando with the softs in P14, and Mumra in P15. So we could have a special situation here with Eskimo, G-Mac and Castor on softs. They will be quicker on the first 2 laps especially. If they make up all those positions and go up to the top 3 positions, they could dictate and dominate that race. But you have to overtake 5 cars. And that's the tricky thing here. But before we lose ourselves in that, we just wait for the start and the end of the first lap to see what's really happening. The grid is formed up now. The green flag is out. So let's see when we will finally get that second race underway. Sorry for the little coughs. There will be here and there, like last week. The fucking COVID thing is not gone away completely. Hopefully next week It's not too bad, so just don't listen to the cough, and that's pretty much it. The green flag is still out, but we're not racing. It seems like we're waiting on someone. I see a ghosted Mercedes, which is Castor, I think. All the other cars are visible. Just going through here to see what is happening. Yeah, Castor is a ghosted car at the moment. Oh, his teammate too. And Walterby also. Septek too. So 4 cars are ghosted at the moment. Yeah, so I think we'll open up a new lobby. Seems to have crashed. So just going to open up a new one.